What is up, everybody? My name is Matt from Magic the Greatening, and today we are going over Rivals of IXALAN spoilers, and there was a ton of spoilers. Well, not literally a ton, but a lot of spoilers since yesterday when I made my video around the same time I made mine today. So we're going to go through them. There was like 3 or 4 that were spoiled last night, and the rest of them were spoiled this morning. So I'm really excited to go over a lot of these. Actually, I haven't seen all of them, so you're going to be kind of getting my first reaction. So we're going to start here. I just have a whole bunch of tabs open, and I'm just going to go through them all. So we're going to start with Etali Primal Storm. I think this is our third. We almost have all 5. I think 2 Elder Dinosaurs were spoiled today and yesterday. So Etali Primal Storm is the red Elder Dinosaur. Obviously, legendary creature. Cost 6. It's a 6/6. It says whenever it attacks, exile the top cards of each player's library. Then you may cast any number of non-land cards exiled this way without paying their mana costs. Obviously, this is going to be an awesome commander. Does it have a place in Standard? If you can give it haste, yes. An easy way to give it haste. But for now, it looks mostly like a really fun commander card. I'm sure I can find a way to make this in Standard, but again, giving it haste is pretty much important. But its effect is going to be really strong in Commander. Nothing more to say about that. There could be a way you can manipulate it where you can cast. We don't even have Eldrazi in Standard anymore. So, yeah. No, I don't think there's a real way to break that. So let's move on to Timestream Navigator. This is a Mythic, I believe. And, yeah, it is. It's for 2 mana. 1 and a blue. You get a creature, human, pirate, wizard. Okay. That has Ascend. You guys should know the Ascend mechanic by now. If you don't, just read the text there. But his activated ability is 4 mana, 2 and 2 blue. Tap it, put Timestream Navigator on the bottom of its owner's library. Take an extra turn after this one. Activate this only if you have the city's blessing. What? What? You take an extra turn for 4 mana? Right? It's a total of 6, right? Because you have to pay the 2. But at 4 mana and at instant speed. At instant speed. How do I feel about this? I feel like this can get busted in Modern. It might be busted in Standard. I feel like this card is really overpowered. I mean, they made it a 1/1, so it is relatively easy to kill, and you have to have the city's blessing. So there is some hoops to jump through, but it can. There could be a way you could break it. I mean, also you're putting it on the bottom of its owner's library, so basically, like, I know milling out isn't something that usually happens in Magic, but it could be a possibility where you could just keep putting this on the bottom of your library and taking extra turns. But yeah, this card may be broken, maybe not broken. Maybe it's probably not going to see any Standard play, but now that I'm thinking about it, but Commander and Modern will probably love this card. Let's move on now to our second Elder Dinosaur of this spoilers video, and I think our 4th total so far. I think we're missing the we're missing the blue one. Okay, so Zetalpa Primal Dawn is 8 mana, 6 and 2 white, legendary creature, Elder Dinosaur. I saw this yesterday, and I was thinking a whole bunch of ways to bust this card, but it's a 4/8 with Flying, Double Strike, Vigilance, Trample, and Indestructible. It's not a good commander itself, but it could be good with what's his name? Aldrich? Is that am I saying that right? I'll probably have the card up on the screen, to reminding myself. But the card in Standard, I'm only gonna be talking about this Standard play. Is going to be a great card in blue-white God Pharaoh's Gift, right? Because it's a 4/8 indestructible, 4/4 indestructible. I mean, it's not going to really matter the toughness. There's no burn from within. There's no exile spells that are burn spells, so the 4 extra toughness is not going to matter too much. And then you get a 4/4 Flying, Double Strike, Vigilance, Trample, Indestructible, Haste with this if you get it with a God Pharaoh's Gift. So I'm feeling like this is broken in the God Pharaoh's Gift deck. Probably one of the better cards. But yeah, make a wasted cast out on this instead of your actual God Pharaoh's Gift, because this card will swing you the game immediately. I expect this card to be very good in that deck. And if you like playing blue-white God Pharaoh's Gift, I would probably pick this up before it gets over like somewhere like $5. So keep that in mind. Let's keep moving on to now a Paladin of Atonement. It's a 1 and a white, 2 mana total for a Vampire Knight. At the beginning of each upkeep, If you lost life last turn, put a +1/+1 counter on Paladin of Atonement. When a Paladin of Atonement dies, you gain life equal to its toughness. It's just too many hoops to jump through. What's that one flash vampire that we saw in IXALAN? Where you flash him in and he gains +1 counters for how many creatures died this turn. It's good against sweepers, but other than that, this card doesn't seem to be very good. There's a card that's very, very similar to this that we saw yesterday. It's a Vampire Lord. We'll get there when we get there. But this card doesn't seem very good. Won't even see play in a Vampire Standard or Modern deck. Maybe in Commander. We'll see. Let's move on, and here's the card I was actually just talking about, where it has a similar thing, but this is a lot stronger ability, and it seems a better commander than in Standard, but I'm going to be playing it in Standard. Alanda, the Dusk Rose. 4 mana, 2, a white and a black, for a legendary creature, Vampire Knight. It's a 1/1 with lifelink. That says, whenever another creature dies, put a +1 counter on Alanda, the Dusk Rose. When this dies, create X 1/1 white vampire creature tokens with lifelink, where X is Alanda's power. So it's basically like a, what's it? Hangerback Walker, but, you know, the +1 ability is a little bit different. Those abilities are always really, really strong. The problem is this enters just as a 1/1 with no counters on it whatsoever. So if someone were to kill it immediately, you'd only get one thing, and for 4 mana, you get a 2/2. But if this, you can get the ball rolling with this and get 3-4 counters on it, and then they eventually kill it. Then you get a whole bunch of good, like, little blockers. Very good if you have, like, a Lord out, too, with a Vampire Lord. And we did get a interesting Vampire Lord that we'll get into, and a Merfolk Lord. But, yeah, Alanda the Dusk Rose seems pretty strong, especially in a Commander setting. Standard, probably not as strong, but I will be playing it because this card looks extremely fun. Moving on, and now this card, green-white tokens is back? Probably not, but it's Huatli, Radiant Champion. Now, the Huatli we got in IXALAN was terrible. People are now, I've seen people comments saying this card's also terrible, but I feel like in the right deck, this card could be very good, especially in maybe Modern. So, Huatli Radiant Champion, is 4 mana, 2 green and a white for a Planeswalker that has 3 mana loyalty. Her +1 is put a loyalty counter on Huatli, Radiant Champion, for each creature you control. Okay, already pushing the token strategy theme here. Her -1 is target creature gets +X until end turn, where X is the number of creatures you control. The only way I can think of to bust this is if some creature had trample. But, yeah, I highly doubt that if you're playing a token stack, any of your guys are going to have trample. And the ultimate is when you get an emblem that says whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, you may draw a card. And that's any creature, so that means tokens as well, which means you're going to basically have endless card draw for the rest of the game. It shouldn't actually be too hard to get the ultimate off on this one. I feel like you have to have a specific deck built around this. Now, the problem that people are obviously having with this card is that she can't protect herself, and as being a Planeswalker that is supposed to be built for tokens, she's not very good, which is could be true. She doesn't have any actual impact on the board immediately, but I don't know, if you turn 1, 2, and 3, put out tokens and creatures and stuff, and you had 3 or 4 creatures out already, you can ultimate her in 2 turns. Like, that's super strong. I feel like tokens is missing a 4th slot ever since Gideon, ally of Zendikar, rotated out of Standard. So yeah, there's not many good one-drops in green and white, other than when, like, Greenbelt Rampager, which you can't actually play on turn 1. So yeah, the card is interesting. Getting the ultimate off is game ending, really, getting that card draw, as long as you have a good supporting deck. But this card should be rather hard to kill if your opponent's trying to bash it down, because you're just going to gain so much loyalty every turn. So yeah, that is my initial thoughts on Huatli. She's much better than the one that we got in IXALAN, and I think that is pretty easy and less controversial to say. She's obviously not the best player. She's not a Gideon ally of Zendikar. Let's just put that out there, but you can have fun with her. Just like the Angrath that we saw. If you guys didn't see that video, or if you haven't heard about Angrath being spoiled, you can go to 2 spoiler videos ago that I made, and I talked about him. It's more flavor than anything. and Huatli is very flavorful in green-white tokens. So let's move on to Jadelight Ranger, 1 and 2 green for 3 total mana. For a Merfolk Scout. When Jadelight Ranger enters the battlefield, it explores, then it explores again. This is really strong. I like this card. Potentially, you can make it a, if you don't hit anything on the first go, you're going to make it a, 4/3, a 3-mana 4/3, which is But the plus 1 counter theme in Merfolk in Standard right now is actually relevant because either if you're playing Winding Constrictor or if you're playing the guy that says your creatures with plus 1 counters can't be blocked. There might be even more plus 1 counter themes that get spoiled. Who knows? But this is either going to make it like a 3-mana 3/2 that drew you a card, or a 3-mana 2/1 that drew you 2 cards. Like, this thing could help you hit lands. It can help you get past the lands if you're mana flooding. I feel like it's obviously not going to be super impactful in the meta, but in the Merfolk deck, this is definitely a card that the deck needed. Some sort of super strong 3-drop. There was a lot of good 2-1 drops, mediocre 2-1 drops with, the Lord at 3. But now that we're getting some pretty good Merfolk, I feel like this card is actually pretty decent and helps the Merfolk tribal out a lot. So let's move on now to this card. And I saw this, this is the first card I saw this morning. Admiral's Order is basically cancel. But let's go over it. It's 3 mana, 1 and 2 blue for an instant. Raid, if you attack with a creature this turn, you may pay a single blue rather than pay this spell's mana cost, counter target spell. It's cancel. Yeah, I mean, if you're playing a control deck, right, even if you're playing Pirates or blue-black raid or blue-red raid, what are they going to... They can cast something on end step, I guess, and you can counter it for 1, which could be nice. Obviously, it's a better cancel, right? That's why Void Shatter was better than cancel. That's why Shatter the Winds, I believe it's called, is better than cancel. Disallow is better than cancel. Disallow is still probably the better card than this one, obviously. But, yeah, being able to counter stuff on end step for 1 mana could be very useful. But, again, you have to attack with a creature. And if you're playing the control game, that's not going to happen on turn 3 or turn 1 or turn 2. So, it's interesting. It is interesting. Also, if you go to combat and then you attack with a creature and you're still in the middle of combat, and then they try to flash out Settle the Wreckage or Cast Out, or they try to bounce your guy, or they try to kill your guy, whatever it is, since you did attack with a creature, even though you're still in attack step, you do get to pay the 1 mana. So I think that's pretty important to point out there. Obviously, a better cancel. I've said that 3 times already. Let's move on. We have a lot of spoilers to go through. So if I'm rushing, that's why. Shrine Atlasar, a 5-mana 3/4 dinosaur. That's 4 and a white. If a source would deal damage to another dinosaur you control, prevent all but 1 of that damage. Okay, this is a card I actually have not seen it, so I'm going to have to read this again. If a source would deal damage to another dinosaur, that's key right there, another dinosaur you control, prevent all of that damage but 1. That's, wow. Against red decks, that's really good, but against white and blue and black decks, it's pretty bad. But if your opponent's removal is based on Harness Lightning, that's really strong, because no matter how much energy they pump into it, it's only going to deal 1 damage to your dinosaur. Also, if a source, any source, not just your opponent's, maybe this could be helped in a rage deck, right, where you could just somehow do multiple and rate. I don't know. 5 mana is pretty hefty for this. A 3/4. Yeah, this is obviously not going to be played in dinosaurs. I think it's just too slow. Maybe good in draft if you can get a dinosaur tribal deck. Those are my thoughts on it. I don't think it's very good. Let's move on to Induced Amnesia, a 3-mana enchantment that's 2 and a blue. It says when this enters the battlefield, target player exiles all cards from his or her hand face down, then draws that many cards. When this is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, return the exiled cards to their owner's hand. Huh. This is interesting. This could potentially draw you 5-6 cards. The problem is you have to kill the enchantment, and that's wasting a card on this. There's no thing that says destroy an enchantment you control and then give you a positive benefit. You're going to have to waste a Cast Out or Ixalan's Binding on it. Nah. No, it's got to be put into the graveyard. Yikes. I'm not sure if there's a way in Standard to actually break this card. There might be in Modern, but who knows? You could actually probably, if you're playing like a blue-black deck, you can use this to make them discard their entire hand, but our Help Mill, maybe that's part of it. Maybe it's a good mill card. I don't know. This card doesn't seem like it can be broken in Standard. If you guys know of any tricks you can do in Standard with this card, let me know, because I would be really interested to see a combo with this. So let's keep going on to Ravenous Chupacabra. It's a 4-mana creature beast horror. That's a 2/2. It's 2 and 2 black. It says when it enters the battlefield, destroy target creature an opponent controls. And that's it. Perfect. This is just like, what's his face? Come on, he's in Standard. Gear Hulk, not Verdurous Gear Hulk, Noxious Gear Hulk. Don't know why it took me so long to think of. This card is pretty good in a mid-range tempo deck. Blue-black might see play with this, actually. It's not a terrible card. I mean, a 2/2 does hurt it, but being able to enter for 4 mana, you get a 2/2 and you destroy a creature, really good. But it feels like this card obviously is pretty awesome in Draft. I'm thinking if in Standard it's going to get any play. 4 mana, yeah, I think it's a good card. Honestly, in a mid-range tempo deck, maybe Esper mid-range or blue-black mid-range or something like that, you could do this as your 4th slot. Seems pretty good to me. I want to know what you guys think about this card. Pretty vanilla, but it can be very, very strong. Let's move on here to Path to Discovery, a 4-mana enchantment. That's 3 and a green. It says whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, it explores. If you're playing an explore deck, you're not even going to need this enchantment. It's not going to be good in Draft. Maybe Commander. If you're playing a heavy +1 counter theme, then maybe Commander. But I highly doubt this gets any play in Standard. I guess you could stack your Explorers in Standard, but maybe 4 mana is really slow. It might be like a 1 or 2 of in the deck. We'll see. Pretty slow, though. I don't think it's very good. Let's move on to oh my god, I don't think I can pronounce this. Tilonalli Summoner. It's 2 mana, 1 in a red for a 1/1 human that has Ascend. We've gone over the Ascend mechanic before. Every time Tilonalli Summoner attacks, you may pay X and a red. If you do, create X 1/1 elemental creature tokens tapped and attacking. Exile them at the beginning of the next end step unless you have the City's Blessing. This is a card that Ascend is going to love. Maybe green-red Ascend? I don't know. I'm going to have to compile all the Ascend cards and see which one's the best, which color combinations are the best. But the problem is it's a 1/1, and you have to attack with it, which means the first time you attack with it, you're going to lose unless somehow you can... no, because then you're making the deck worse by putting in pump spells. Yeah, the 1/1 hurts it. Maybe if it had like Menace or something, or Flying, that would help. But since it doesn't, I actually don't like this card anymore. I kind of got a little excited at that ability. But yeah, more of a junk rare than anything. 1/1 that doesn't have any evasive abilities is really easy to kill in combat. So yeah, let's keep moving on to Glorious Destiny. Oh, this card was spoiled yesterday, and I tweeted about it. This card's awesome. 2 and a white, 3-mana enchantment that has Ascend. As Glorious Destiny, enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Creatures of the chosen type have +1/+1. They have Vigilance as long as you have the City's Blessing. This card is going to be bananas in black-white vampires. Black-white vampire tokens. The vampire deck, honestly, is probably one of the best decks right now. Just looking at the spoilers we had here and how well it performed for me in IXALAN compared to the other tribal decks. This card helps it a lot. This is giving your vampires +1/+1. It's like Always Watching, but it can apply to tokens as well. You don't even need Ascent. Just having the +1/+1 is super nice if you're playing a tribal deck. I don't think this is going to get played in Naya Dinosaurs because dinosaurs are already big in themselves. So they'd just be a wasted slot. But in vampires, definitely maybe a servo deck. Definitely maybe Oketra's name. Not in Oketra's name. In Oketra's or Oketra's Monument. Jesus. Yeah, this seems only really good in black-white vampires, but that's like my favorite deck tribal deck from IXALAN. So that's all I have to say about that. Pretty simple, pretty strong. Let's keep moving on to Kumena's Awakening. I saw this card earlier today. So it's 4 mana, 2 and a 2 blue for an enchantment with Ascend. It says at the beginning of your upkeep, each player draws a card. If you have the City's Blessing, instead, only you draw a card. Good in Commander. In Standard, I wouldn't bet on it. Look, in Standard, if you're playing Ascend, that means you got to have creatures out, especially on turn 4. To have 10 permanents out on turn 4 is really difficult. Maybe turn 5 and 6, but if you're playing blue, you're not going to be playing a lot of creatures, right? Blue is a control type of color. And since this is blue, it just feels like it needs to be in Commander. And it's probably stay in Commander. Giving your opponents extra cards as well as you can sometimes be useful to you, but most of the times it's going to turn out in the favor of your opponents if they're not playing control. Because your 1-for-1 trades aren't going to mean anything. And you're giving them extra gas. So if you can somehow get Ascend and the City's Blessing with blue and Standard, by all means play this card. But otherwise, again, like a junk rare. So let's keep moving on. We're almost done. We have like 5 more of these cards left. I know, there's a lot. Seafloor Oracle, 4 mana, 2 and 2 blue for a creature merfolk wizard. Or just not a wizard, just a merfolk. It's a 2/3. It says whenever a merfolk you control deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. The problem is the merfolk tribal in Standard already has a really good 4-drop. It's like a 4 mana 3/3 that says your creatures with +1 counters cannot be blocked. That card is just strictly better than this one. This one does give you card advantage and a lot of it. It doesn't say whenever a merfolk you control, or whenever one or more merfolk you control deals damage to a player. This is just whenever a merfolk. So if you hit your opponent with like 7 merfolk tokens, you draw 7 cards. Like that's insanely busted. But in Standard, there's just a better 4-drop out there. Really easy to kill. Lightning Strike, Harness Lightning, Abrade. Not Shock, but Sweltering Suns. Just a lot of stuff that kills this card. A Revolted Fatal Push. So, yeah. I wouldn't bet on this being any splash in the Merfolk deck. Maybe a one of in that deck. Even then, probably not. Seems good if in a Merfolk draft deck. So, yeah. Let's keep moving on here to Watery Ambush, a 4-mana enchantment, 3 and a blue. It says when it enters the battlefield, create 2 1/1 Merfolk creature tokens with hexproof, and then you could pay 3 and a blue to make a merfolk, or target merfolk can't be blocked this turn. This is like Deeproot Waters, but Deeproot Waters is so much better because it costs 1 less mana, and you can potentially create many, many more merfolk creature tokens with it. Now, obviously, no, it's just like 4 mana just for 2 1/1s with hexproof is not strong, right? The 1/1's not going to be a problem. Now, if you can make the 1/1s like 5/5s somehow, and they have hexproof, then that's good. But a 1/1 with hexproof isn't very strong. It's like the weakest ability a 1/1 can have next to like First Strike. So, yeah, I don't know. Feels kind of bad that this card's not going to see any play in the Merfolk deck. Again, we've already talked about the 4 mana Merfolk that we're already playing. So now we're getting to the cards. Ooh, here's where we get the Lords. So we got Legion Lieutenant, just a white and a black for a Vampire Knight. It's simple. Other vampires you control get +1/+1. This is the card vampires needed. This card is so strong. So strong. Vampires are already a token-based strategy, and giving them +1/+1 on top of what is it? That one enchantment we just went over, giving them +1/+1 as well, is super, super strong. Not only in Standard, but also in Commander, and maybe even Modern. Just a Vampire Lord that's just a vanilla. I know it can be killed by anything, but it is very, very strong. And kept alive, it's going to win you the game. So, yeah, I really liking this card. And let's keep moving on here to a Merfolk Lord that is just like this one. A green and a blue Other merfolk you control get +1/+1 as a 2/2. This is super awesome. I like how they did this. I think people were complaining that the tribal decks in Ixalan were just god-awful. And these are going to help. These are definitely going to help. Merfolk Mistbinder, definitely going to be slotted in a 4 of. Same with the Legion, the Vampire Lord. So, yeah, pretty vanilla both of them, but very, very strong and going to be very, very useful when it comes to time. And the last spoiler, it's not very anything exciting. It actually could be. It's going to be interesting. But Daring Buccaneer. It's just a single red for a 2/2 human pirate. Well, what's the bad thing about this card, right? A 1-mana 2/2. As an additional cost to cast Daring Buccaneer, reveal a pirate card from your hand or pay 2 mana. In Pirates, this is very strong. Pirates is missing 1-drops, right? It has Deadeye Tracker. It's a 1/1 that explores. It has Rigging Runner, which is a 1/1 that can make a 2/2 if you attack with a creature. But this is helping the aggro pirates out. And definitely a card that's going to be a 4 of in my Pirates deck. I'm really liking the looks of this card. If you don't have a pirate in your hand, it kind of stinks 3-mana 2/2. But a 1-mana 2/2... definitely worth being able. I mean, you're already going to be playing 25 plus pirates in your deck, so this isn't going to be at all hard to get on turn 1. So yeah, I'm ready to get busy with this card. A 1-mana 2/2 is really strong. So yeah, and that is it for all the spoilers we saw from the last time I made a spoiler video to this point, and there's probably going to be more spoilers tonight. But yeah, that is all of them. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope I caught you guys up on all the spoilers. Tell me which cards you're most excited to see. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one, guys.